Well, good afternoon. My name is Christy Welch, and I work with the Ohio State University South Centers. And this webinar today, we are going to be discussing how to accept SNAP benefits at farmers markets. And we appreciate you joining the webinar today and hopefully find this information helpful. So just kind of an outline of what we're going to talk about today. Again, accepting SNAP, or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, benefits at farmers markets. We're going to talk about what EBT is, why accept EBT, and then some other considerations that markets need to think about when looking at accepting these benefits at their farmers market here in Ohio. So the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or what we refer to as SNAP, was formerly known as the Federal Food Stamp Program, and several years ago that program transitioned from a paper-like coupon to a debit-like card, and there you get the electronic benefits transfer. The benefits are transferred, of course, electronically from the state of Ohio to the recipient's card that then they can use to their benefits on eligible food items. And here in Ohio, that's known as the Ohio Direction Card. And so you will hear the term SNAP. You might hear the term EBT, and then also the Ohio Direction Card. And so typically we're talking about the same thing when we talk about those three things. And so why is it important for markets here in Ohio to think about accepting SNAP benefits? Well, in 2013, SNAP benefits at farmers markets redemption rose to $21.1 million nationwide. And so one of the benefits for markets, of course, is just the ability to capture some of those dollars and help make those farmers more profitable and expand their customer base. Here in Ohio, there were 116 farmers markets and direct marketing farmers that redeemed just over $224,000 in SNAP benefits. And that's a very small amount of the actual benefits that are distributed here in Ohio, so there is room for improvement here in Ohio. And for example, Georgia was the state with the greatest redemption of SNAP benefits in 2013, and farmers markets and direct marketing farmers in Georgia redeemed over $3 million in benefits in that state. And so we have lots of room for improvement here in Ohio. And so some of the things that markets and direct marketing farmers need to think about when exploring whether offering or accepting SNAP benefits at their market is suitable for their market, one of the things you want to consider is your market legally organized? And so is the farmers market either structured as an LLC, a cooperative, or a nonprofit organization? And there's a couple reasons that that's important. For one, it's just good business practice, and so I would encourage your market, if it is not legally organized, to explore some of those options. Is the market affiliated with an umbrella organization, such as a local chamber of commerce or a visitors bureau or downtown association? That might be an option for your market as well. And then who is going to be the responsible party for that? When you complete the application with USDA's Food and Nutrition Service to become an approved retailer to accept the SNAP benefits, somebody will be required to provide their Social Security number on that application. And so again, it's good practice to be legally organized, but also realize that there is somebody that's going to have to supply that on the application. And of course, there are pros and cons to being legally organized. It does provide some liability protection here in the state of Ohio. It typically can increase some potential funding opportunities for your farmers market if you're looking to apply for grant funds for different programs for your market. It can be very helpful for your market to be legally organized to do that. And then again, if the market is legally organized as its own entity, it typically can be self-managed, and that can be beneficial. On the other hand, that can also be a hindrance too if you don't have the personnel and the resources in place to do the management required for the market to make it successful. And of course, you do need to then do reporting and record-keeping requirements. For example, once you're legally organized, you need to file the tax returns for the market organization. Of course, the individual vendors should be filing their own personal or business tax returns on an individual basis, but that's something that the market itself would need to do as well once it becomes legally organized. The other thing that you have to think about if you're looking at accepting SNAP benefits at your farmer's market is, again, these funds are electronically transferred, and so the market would have to have a bank account where those funds can then be deposited into that account. And many times if you go to a bank to get an account for an organization, they do require that you have an employee identification number or a tax identification number for that organization. So that's another reason you might want to be legally organized for your market. It's also really good practice too because it helps keep the farmers market funds separate from the individual vendors funds or that umbrella organization that you might be working with. And then that also helps with the accountability of the funds received and making sure that the process is being managed properly, that the transactions are being managed properly, and then that the vendors are being reimbursed properly as well. And so again, one of the things that you want to think about for your market to accept SNAP benefits or EBT at your market, many times you would need a person that actually processes those transactions at the market, and markets handle this in a number of different ways. Some markets actually hire a person that sits at the market tent and they process the SNAP transactions as customers come up to the market tent. They also do some of the record keeping and sometimes they're the person also that does the reimbursement of vendors for the transactions that are made that day. And again, many markets pay a person to do that. So in that instance, your market would have to have the resources or the funds available to pay that person. Some markets use volunteers for that. Some markets even have a single vendor at the market that has volunteered or designated to have the EBT terminal at their particular booth, and they process the transactions on behalf of the market. And so there's just ways that that can be accomplished. You just need to make sure that you think through how that process is going to be handled at your market once that the market does begin accepting the SNAP benefits. And so again, you would need the person that processes the transaction and has that interaction with the customer. You would have to have a person that accounts for the tokens and or scrip, and then the person that reimburses the vendors, and then also a person to train the vendors. Again, because these are supplemental nutrition assistance program benefits, there are eligible and ineligible items typically found at a farmer's market that those consumers can use to purchase products at the market. And so you need to have a person available to train your vendors on what items can and cannot be purchased with those Ohio Direction Card benefits or the SNAP benefits. And then if your market intends to not only accept SNAP benefits but also debit and or credit card, there are fees associated with that process. And so what capability does your farmer's market have to cover some of those transaction fees, some of those equipment fees? If you, for example, need a wired terminal to accept the SNAP benefits, that means you have to have access to a landline telephone line as well as electricity. And so depending on the location of the market, it might be the market that pays that monthly telephone line charge as well as the electric charge, and sometimes markets have to pay to have those things installed as well. So they have access to those. There are wireless options out there, and we're going to talk more about that here as we go through the webinar today. But again, as your market is exploring whether or not to accept the SNAP benefits at the market, you need to think through some of these things beforehand and make sure that you do have some financial resources to carry out accepting SNAP benefits at the farmer's market. So in addition to kind of the logistics of doing that at your market, it is also good practice to have a marketing plan that helps the farmers market promote the fact that consumers can use their Ohio direction card at that farmers market. And typically that takes a person to plan and implement an effective marketing plan. Sometimes that's carried out by a market manager. Sometimes that's volunteers. Sometimes that is working with partnering organizations in your community to help get the word out that the market does accept the Ohio Direction Card. And then the other thing that some markets have implemented that has been very successful is a matching program. So for example, if a person comes to your market to purchase items using their Ohio Direction Card, some markets will say if you use $10 of your Ohio Direction Card, we'll match that with some other funds that we have available, and that just really increases the buying power of that particular customer. And so if you're going to try to have a matching fund program, a couple of things to keep in mind. Those funds do not come through the SNAP program or the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. Markets that have matching programs at this time work with local foundations, local community organizations. There are some national nonprofit organizations that have funded matching type programs as well. But again, it does take a person to manage that process if that's something that you're looking at doing with your particular farmers markets. And so that's just another resource that the market needs to explore, the ability to have the resources in place to do that marketing, to do that matching program, and then really to help get the word out that you can, or customers can, use their Ohio Direction Card at your farmers market. And that might be things like signs or flyers or different advertisements and those kinds of things. Typically there's a cost to many of those forms of promotion. And so the next thing that you want to think about after you've thought through some of the logistics and what resources you have available for your market is, are your vendors ready to learn this new process and accept the Ohio Direction Card from their customers at your farmers market? And so one of the things, do they recognize the benefits? Well, we mentioned early on there's the potential to capture a share of those dollars from the consumer. That should help to increase the vendors' revenues and diversify their customer base. But again, as I mentioned early on, the vendors do need to be trained. And so do the vendors understand what items are eligible food items and what items are not eligible to be purchased with the Ohio Direction Card, and the fact that they cannot give cash change back when a customer uses their direction card. So for example, if you have an item as a vendor at your booth and let's say it's $2.50, most farmers markets have the SNAP benefits in the form of a token that is usually $1 denominations. And so when a customer comes to your booth and wants to purchase that tomatoes for $2.50, they can do one of two things. They could give you, the customer could give the vendor $2 in tokens and 50 cents in cash if they have that cash on them. They cannot give the vendor 3 $1 tokens and the vendor give them 50 cents back. So it's just some of those things that you have to understand about the program, what are eligible and ineligible products that can be purchased, and have somebody that can train your vendors to do that. As a market, you also need to share with your vendors how they're going to be reimbursed. Many markets, again, have a central location where all the transactions are processed. So for example, a customer comes to the market tent, swipes their Ohio Direction Card and gets X amount of tokens that they request from the market, and then can go spend those in the market. So as the vendors receive those tokens in payment, they then need to turn those tokens back into the market which then will reimburse the vendor for those tokens that they've turned in. And so there has to be a good accounting system in place to keep track of those vendors' tokens that are turned in and how those vendors are then reimbursed. And it varies again from market to market. Some markets will reimburse vendors at the end of every market. Some markets will do that every 2 weeks. Some markets will do it once a month. So you really have to think about what's going to work for your particular farmer's market and what's going to work for your vendors in that reimbursement process. And then I think it's also important to help your vendors understand that they need to help promote and market their products to customers, and this is really all customers across the spectrum that come to the farmer's market, but that includes things like recipes, information on how to store and prepare the items that they purchase at the farmer's market, because nobody wants to have somebody purchase, maybe it's a half a bushel of tomatoes that they're going to take home and think that they're going to eat them all fresh, and for whatever reason that doesn't happen and those tomatoes go bad. That's not helpful for anybody. And so really have your vendors engaged in helping to educate consumers on how to use the product, how to store the product, how to prepare the product can be a win-win for everybody, because we want those customers to keep coming back to the farmer's market as well. And so the other thing that the market might want to think about is developing relationships with organizations that serve the consumers that usually are recipients of the SNAP benefits and help get the word out to those customers. Again, markets have been successful in making sure that there's access to public transportation to allow customers to get to and from the market. So if your market is located on the local transit route, that can really be beneficial. Some markets even work with local nonprofit organizations that can provide some form of transportation on market days for a group. And then again, the marketing and promotion and education of cooking demonstrations are usually very successful at farmers markets and can really help to provide some of that education to consumers about the product. Additional education items that you would want to think about is the seasonality of products that we have here in Ohio. When is sweet corn, for example, available that is locally produced? When can we expect tomatoes locally produced, and all those kinds of things? There are also nutrition education programs through OSUE Extension, and you could use that as a resource as well. And then we also talked about some of the matching programs, and Wholesome Wave is one of the national nonprofits that has funded some of those programs around the country. Many markets, however, work with local foundations to secure the dollars to offer those matching programs when they're accepting SNAP at their farmers market. So again, just to review what a market needs to think about when considering accepting SNAP benefits, again, is the market legally structured? This is not a requirement by USDA Food and Nutrition Service, but it is good business practice, and I highly recommend that you consider either legally organizing your farmers market or making sure that you're working with an umbrella organization that can really provide some of that accountability. Again, does the market have the management abilities? Does it have the personnel? Does it have volunteers? Does it have the funds available to manage this kind of program? Not only managing the logistics of the program, but also marketing the program and helping raise awareness that the farmers market can accept the Ohio Direction Card. And I would just say that the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services EBT section tries to keep track of the farmers markets here in Ohio that accept the Ohio Direction Card, and then try to help do some promotions to those communities to let consumers that receive the Ohio Direction Card benefits then to shop and become aware that that farmers market is accepting those benefits. So that's a great resource as well. Again, you need to consider the training for the vendors of your farmers market, making sure that you have the resources available to train vendors properly on how to accept the benefits. And then you can certainly review and implement best practices from other markets around the Ohio and around the country for that matter, that have been successful at accepting these benefits at their farmers markets. And so if you need additional assistance after this webinar, you can contact the Department of Job and Family Services EBT section. You can contact me at the OSU South Centers. I'm happy to help provide any assistance that I can. There's the Farmers Market Management Network, which is a cooperative of farmers markets and individual vendors here in Ohio, and they can serve as a great resource as well. And then the Farmers Market Coalition is a national organization that works with farmers markets around the country, and they have a huge amount of resources on their website as well. Here's some links to some more information about accepting SNAP benefits at your farmers market. The first link there is the USDA Food Nutrition Service website that provides information about how to go about that process. And then there's some additional resources there as well. The final link on this slide is the Market Link, which is a fairly new program. It's a National Association of Farmers Market Nutrition Programs that currently has some funding available to help cover the cost of some of the equipment that's needed to accept SNAP benefits at your market. And if you go to their website, you can check first of all to see if you are eligible for that financial assistance. And so that's a good resource as well. And so with that, I am going to turn the presentation over to Melissa Wolf. And Melissa is with the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. And if you'll give me just a second here while I switch our presentations. Melissa works with the EBT section at Job and Family Services, and she's going to share some information from their perspective about the process of accepting SNAP benefits at your farmers markets here in Ohio. Melissa, I appreciate you being here today and really appreciate all the support you have provided to farmers markets here in Ohio. And I'm going to turn the presentation over to you and let you share here about accepting the Ohio Direction Card.
Great. Thank you for having me today, Christy. Again, my name is Melissa Wolf. I am the Farmers Market Coordinator for ABT for the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. I'm going to do a high-level overview of accepting the Ohio Direction Card at farmers markets. The process of accepting the SNAP eligible items at your farmers market starts with SNAP certification with the United States Department of Agriculture Food Nutrition Services. You can go directly to their website to create an account and apply online. Their website also has a phone number where you can call and request to be mailed a paper copy. And then, as Christy mentioned, there's also the Market Link option to go to their website and see about eligibility of applying and obtaining equipment through them. Once you have received your SNAP certification, the United States Department of Agriculture Food Nutrition Services will give a list of current markets to our state vendor. Right now, our state vendor is Xerox, and when they receive that list from FNS, if your market is listed there with a code FM for Farmers Market, what they will do is they will reach out to you and provide a communications packet, and in that packet is a contract to see if you would be interested in EBT-only state equipment. What that is the wired device. You would have to have the electric outlet and the telephone landline outlet to process your SNAP transactions. If you don't want to take advantage of that, that's fine. There will be no qualms held against you for that. If you do decide to sign with the state vendor, what you would do is complete your packet, send it back in, and then they will mail you your EBT equipment. It should come with training brochures as well as a video. Sometimes the video will also be available online on their retailer website. Once you have your SNAP certification and your contract is in place and you have your equipment, of course, you can definitely begin to sell your SNAP eligible items using your equipment at your farmer's market. EBT, electronic benefit transfer, is pretty much exactly what it says. It is the electronic transfer of the benefits from one account to another. The different kinds of equipment that you have the option of using is the EBT only point of sale terminal, which is the wire terminal. You have to have electric and a phone line. It stays in one place. There's also contract negotiations right now between Ohio and Xerox to hopefully provide wireless EBT only point-of-sale terminals using some of the funding from FNS. It's still in the works. Our website will have updates on that. Another option is to search for your own third-party processor. And a third-party processor is pretty much any kind of vendor or processor that is not contracted with the state. MarketLink, for example, if you go with MarketLink, they use Novadia and WorldPay, and they would be considered a third-party processor. One of the other ways of processing transactions with the SNAP benefits is for manual vouchers. The manual vouchers are paper. They are either 2 or 3 ply, depending on how you're going to process. Our website actually has a brief description on how to fill those out and who gets what copy. Like Christy said, some of the markets participate in a bonus incentive project. I've put the link right there for FNS if you are interested in learning what the bonus incentive project is. One of the successful markets that I know of is the Pearl Market downtown. They are open to receiving phone calls, inquiries. They have a great business model, and Adam is always ready to share his accomplishments with everyone. A couple of the resources that we have here, the Farmers Market Conference, that just says 2014, but there is a Farmers Market Conference every year. We have gratefully been invited for the past couple of years to present at the Farmers Market Conference. Definitely the community of other farmers markets. It's my experience that it's not a closed-door community. They are willing to help and provide information to new farmers markets to help get up and running. Something that I don't have listed there is our annual EBT Farmers Market Directory. I just finished putting together the 2014 Farmers Market Directory. Of course, it will be available on our website as soon as it's approved. And then, in addition to that directory, one of the other ways that we let our Ohio benefit recipients know of a farmers market in their area is accepting the EBT as payment, is that we mail flyers and posters. Specifically, it's related to their zip code, letting them know that Joe's Farmers Market is in your zip code. Here's his location and hours, and he takes the Ohio Direction card. It's very specific to each benefit recipient's zip code. There's a survey every year that goes out to gather the information that we use to mail the notices to the benefit recipients. Unfortunately, that's closed so far this year, but again, it happens every year, and if you are interested, definitely send us an email. Okay, on our last final page here is my contact information, my phone and my email. Our website is down at the bottom there, and it's Our website is divided into two sections, one for the benefit recipients, the customers who are looking for farmers markets, and then the other half is for the farmers markets. On our website, you can find information about updates on the contract, the directory. You can find printable posters to let your markets know that you take the Ohio Direction Card as payment there. Some of the posters are you can personalize the posters with your market information, and then you can print those, and then you can use them as advertisement as well. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, and we have a board on Pinterest. So any one of those three. Our communications person, Haley Call, if you let me know, I can give you her contact information. So just send me an email, let me know. If you have market promotions, if you have photos or even very short videos that you would like us to post and pin and tweet, you can definitely let me know, and I will give you Haley's information in the Office of Communications, and that way you can submit those to her. She can review them, and then hopefully they'll be able to be posted, tweeted, and pinned. And that was it for my presentation. I wanted to thank Christy for inviting the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. Again, just a high-level overview, just a brief introduction to EBT at farmers markets.
Well, Melissa, thank you very much. I do appreciate your support in joining us today. And as Melissa mentioned, this is kind of a high-level overview of the process. Just keep in mind that we are always here to assist you through that process, so don't feel like you have to go it alone. You can certainly contact us at the OSUE South Centers, and I am going to pull that contact information up here as we wrap things up. And of course, you can always contact the Department of Job and Family Services EBT section as well, and they're happy to provide assistance to you as well as working through this process. And I do encourage you to talk with other farmers markets in your area that are currently accepting the SNAP benefits to see how it has worked for them and to learn what they have learned so you don't have to make the mistakes yourself when accepting SNAP benefits at the farmers markets here in Ohio. So here is my email address. That's Christy Welch, and my email address is welch.183@osu.edu. Feel free to contact me with questions or comments. And then just below that is our website where we have some resources for farmers markets on a number of topics, and we will be posting a link to the recording of this webinar so that if you have additional questions or know folks that would like to see this webinar, you can go back and view that at a later time. So with that, again, I want to appreciate and thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you to Melissa and the Department of Job and Family Services EBT section, and have a great 2014 farmers market season. Thanks so much.